I wanted to introduce you to this couching foot for the Sashiko machine. Now, the first thing I will point out to everyone is this is one that fits a Husqvarna Viking, and I found it online on eBay for about $10 American, as opposed to $60 for the correct Babylock one. I thought, well, for that price, I can try. So it's smaller slightly than the original. So if you look at the hole, the way it goes through there, it's a little smaller. However, because this screw is quite effective, it is possible just to tighten it up in place and make it work well. So I could maybe put some shrink wrap around it if it were really necessary. However, I don't think it is. It seems to be working just fine, as long as you tighten this screw up a bit. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the different yarn options that can work with this machine, and let's take a look and see what happens. We'll do the job. So, got red thread in here, drop this down, turn the machine on, and I'm going to work with 3 types of yarn here. Very thick, medium small, and very small. So let's start with this. Now, one of the issues is you need to make sure you have a pile of it in your lap. It always needs to go loose. You can either feed it through here, or just because it's corkscrew type, you can wind it around. So anyway, there we go. So when you first start, I found it's easiest to feed under the foot from the top so that the yarn will get pulled into that hole. You see that hole there in the foot. Let's see if we can get in there close. So you need to feed it to the back. Once it's in the back, it tends to feed relatively successfully without having to do too much. So you can make a few minor adjustments. Let's see. Keep it loose. But sometimes you might need to help the very fine stuff a bit. Sometimes it'll just do it itself. Other times you might need to feed it when it's very fine. Because it's so slow, it's actually relatively easy to do. And sometimes just the looseness of itself will feed it fine. But in this case, this really fine stuff, you'll want to just roll it back and forth like that, and it will couch. So you see, if you can roll it each time very effectively, it'll just do its own thing. And of course you would typically use matching thread, and it's not quite so obvious, but in this case I have used contrasting thread because I'm working on a different project. However, you can adjust the height of this to make it easier to work. Okay, so that's how that looks. It's couched almost perfectly. We get the idea. Speed is definitely not going to be something you want to worry about. So once you get the hang of it and roll it, just see how you get that perfect adjustment. Now I've got this on settings 3 and 2, but you can adjust it as you want, but that works really well. So with a little snip, sorry, grabbing my scissors, what we will do is change yarn. So in this case I could tie it on and feed it, but there's no need. So if you look here, you just done, super easy. Through the foot, Now this thicker yarn is much easier to feed because it will do it itself. You don't need to do the rolly bit. I'll just couch a few times and just let it drag it through itself. It makes it easier. Once you get in there, but you can see the thicker stuff. Don't have to do anything, it just feeds itself. So let me turn, and I'm going to go across a fairly substantial bit of, oops, make sure it's in the hole. So the important bit is to keep it loose, otherwise it pulls up a bit. So you can adjust this. It may be better like that, just to feed it. So you see you can do lots of adjustments to find what works best for you. I find it quite often works best lower. As you can see, it works well, and I can turn the corner now. Corner. You can speed up a bit with this kind of yarn, it's fine. You don't have to plod. So the good thing about this particular attachment is, of course, it will allow me to work on both all sorts of different machines. My FAF, my Husqvarna, Babylock Sashiko, because it'll fit in the hole in the back for all these machines that have it. Okay, so let's go to the thick yarn. Now this thick yarn is the super easy one, because it's even easier to feed. It'll almost never miss because it's so thick. So, same deal here, we can go around. You see how it even goes in there? Now comes the hard part, because wedging this through the hole is a little challenging. This is quite thick. However, it's only a matter of feeding it in the first time. Once it's locked, it will just feed itself, as you can see. Okay, so I'll just pull that through and make it easier for myself. And then let's be off. So same deal, has to be loose. And then it needs to be in the hole in the back, so that it will feed itself. Now for this kind of yarn, you may wish a longer stitch, so we'll just increase that to the maximum stitch. And we can increase the stitch spacing as well, because you don't really need it that small. So you can see I've put those on the maximum now. And for this kind of yarn, that's fine. So let's turn a corner here. I can change the settings to be needle down to make it a little easier to spin. Okay, so feed that up a bit. And as you can see, I'm kind of doing nothing for this one. And it just completely buries the stitching inside the yarn. Okay, so let's take a look. So you can see what happens when it stitches, it just buries it in there, which is really nice. So you get three different looks. There's the light, medium, and then here is the very, very fine. So if you do it really well, you can get lots of interesting effects using this. I particularly like this sort of candy cane look. All of them are easy to use and very effective, so I think it's a definite win-win. It was worth trying the cheaper foot. I don't know whether with the authentic foot you get easier results or better results or whatever, but I'm perfectly satisfied with these ones, that I'm not worried. Anyway, with that, I shall wish you a good day. Goodbye. Okay.